So Modern Warfare 2 is going to have a third game mode, believe it or not, but it's actually going to be a lot different from any other third game mode that we've ever seen before in Call of Duty. It's not going to be like Spec Ops, Zombies, or even Extinction, and instead it's going to be called DMZ. And that probably means absolutely nothing to you unless you know it stands for Demilitarized Zone. But even if you know that, it still means nothing to you because, you know, that just like, what does that tell us about the game? Absolutely nothing, of course. And since we haven't had anything official said, this leaves us only one area to look to try to figure out what this third game mode is going to be. And of course, this is going to be from the leakers. And since it's from the leakers, we have to take this all with a grain of salt, but a lot of these leakers are saying a lot of the same stuff, so it seems pretty likely. But with that said, what are these leakers saying this DMZ game mode is going to be? And what they are saying is that it's going to be similar to Escape from Tarkov. And once again, this probably means very little to a lot of you because Escape from Tarkov isn't on console, and most people's experience with it is that they watch streamers play it. And considering if you look up guides on how to play Escape from Tarkov, they're like an hour plus long. I would guess even those people probably don't know exactly how this game mode works. So with that, I spent a while trying to figure out how Escape from Tarkov works to explain how some of the major features from that are going to carry on into DMZ, and these are what I want to go over. And to start this off, I think we should first look at the genres that Escape from Tarkov is. And what they are is a hardcore MMO RPG looter shooter. Like, those are the genres of this game. Now, I expect most of those to continue into DMZ minus the hardcore one because this is really a hardcore game. But for now, let's go over how the game works and how a lot of these features they're going to be brought over to DMZ from Tarkov. First, how does a game of Tarkov go? Well, what happens is you load up a game and you start a raid or just a normal match, and when you do this, you spawn randomly on a very large map. Not like BR big, but still pretty big. And what your main goal is to do from here is to run around and loot stuff off the floor, which I'm sure different parts of the map has more loot than others, but overall you want to just find a lot of loot. Also, you could run into some AI bots that you could choose to fight. You don't have to, but if you do and you kill them, you could take the loot that they had. And also there are some other players on the map, some other real life people that are running around the map, and you could choose to fight these people, and if you do and then actually kill them, you'll be able to take their loot. And once you feel like you've had enough loot from all of these different avenues of taking loot, you could then choose to extract from the map from multiple different extraction zones that are open at different points during your match. And then if you extract successfully, you will be able to keep all the loot you collected during that match. And for the people unfamiliar with Tarkov, you may wonder, the F's the point of that? Like, why did I just collect all this loot just to not fight anybody? Like, what's going on here? And that's the thing with Tarkov. The main goal isn't to kill anybody. And in fact, that's the reason why I was saying you could choose to fight the bots, you could choose to fight other players, but that's not the goal. The goal is to loot and take as much loot out of the game when you extract as possible. And that's the main goal. And it may sound a little boring at first, but you have to understand why you want this loot. Because when you extract with this loot, like, that is your loot now to have for you. Like, that's permanently your loot. And what you could do with that loot is do a couple different things. You could take it to the markets, which we'll get into in a bit, but for the main thing for now is that you could use that loot for yourself. Let's just say you got a gun you really like, some armor that is really useful, or some other equipment that you really like. Well, now you could equip that to your character, and next time you load into the game, you will load in with that entire loadout that you had. Whatever gun it may be, whatever armor it may be, whatever it in general it may be, that's all you're going to spawn into your next match in, which makes it a lot easier to kill people or just generally not die. It makes it easier to loot in your next match and also kill AI or even other player characters in the game. And that's kind of the general gameplay loop of this game, trying to just keep powering up your character more and more as you get more loot. Now, for the people unfamiliar, once again, you may think, like, isn't this going to get boring fast? Like, once I get all the loot I want, like, I'm set. Like, why would I ever play the game again once I have the best loot? Well, that's the thing, because as I mentioned, when you extract from the map, you get to permanently keep that loot. But what happens if you die? Let's just say you maybe dies from fall damage, or a bot killed you, or even worse, another player killed you. Well, what happens is that when you died, all the loot you had on you, whether it be the loot you went into that game with or you collected during that match, all of it is gone. Like, it's all gone. You're not having that anymore. It's all gone. Whoever killed you, they could now take it, and that's all their loot now, which is not a great thing to happen if you couldn't tell, because you could really lose a lot of loot if you die, and that's kind of the constant struggle you're going to be with, trying to collect as much loot as possible without dying, because if you do, you're going to lose it all, which is kind of the whole point of this game. Like, that's where the looter part in the genres pops up, because it really is a looter at heart. And that's generally how the game is played in the general gameplay loop of a game like Tarkov that I'm sure DMZ is going to borrow, I guess we'll say, from Tarkov. Regardless, though, there are some other features that I think are going to be borrows from Tarkov, and one of those is going to be the market system. And I kind of alluded to this earlier. When you successfully extract from the map and you have all that loot, you could use that to put on your character, but let's just say there's some loot that you just don't want or don't like, or you have duplicates of. Well, what you could do is actually go into the markets and sell that loot, and when you do that, you get some money, and with that money you could also buy some other loot that you actually want from this exact same market. So there's a whole marketplace also involved in this game. Another feature that I'm sure is going to also exist in this is going to be quests, because as I mentioned, this is an RPG, and what happens in any RPG you've ever played, well, there's some NPCs that you go talk to, and then when you talk to them, they give you a side quest. And how it would work in this one is that you would load into the match after accepting that quest, and then when you do it, and then if you successfully exfil, you'll be able to return to that same NPC and then get reward, whatever it may be. But that's not the end of the RPG elements that I'm sure are going to be carried on to this one, because there's kind of like the main feature to RPGs. And if anybody's played any RPG in their life, whether it be, you know, Elden Ring, Persona, Nier Automata, or any of those different games, like, one of the main things that happens is that you slowly level up your character. And when you level up your character, you start leveling up their traits also. Now, I'm not sure what the traits are going to be in DMZ, but I could imagine they're going to be things like maybe sprint faster, reload faster, more health, or just generally something like that that you're also going to be able to do. You know, the main thing to RPGs, and I'm sure stuff like this is also going to be in DMZ, because that's kind of another pool of Tarkov, to be able to level up your character's actual level, so you'll be able to have different traits that you'll be able to kind of go off and upgrade. And that wraps up all of the major features that I think are probably going to be borrowed from Escape from Tarkov into this DMZ mode, and this should give you a decent idea of what to expect from this game mode. But at the same time, we're not going to officially know until we see the proper reveal of this game mode. Regardless, though, I'd still love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this. Does this sound like something you'd actually be down to play? Does it sound like it's too much, too little, or anything like that? I'd love to hear all of your thoughts down in the comment section below. Either way, if you did enjoy the video, definitely do all the normal YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, bell, share, and all that great stuff. But I'm going to go, and I'll catch you guys in the next stream, video, or whatever the heck it may be, and laters, guys.